Well, hi folks, and welcome to the Old Classic Car channel. Now today's video is a bit of a special one because today I am down in sunny Shropshire looking at a magnificent haul of classic Alvis motor cars. As you can see behind me, this TE21 is just a tiny indication of the cars that we're going to look at today. As you may remember, if you've been following the channel for a little while, I have expressed quite a liking for the old TD21 in particular, which was introduced in about 1958 and was in production until about 62ish, I think, something like that. So I really like my old Alvises, and while I was trawling the internet last year looking at adverts for old Alvises, I came across this magnificent place here, and this is run by Chris Prince, and he runs Chris Prince Ltd. He's an Alvis specialist, and he was kind enough to let me come down and just do a bit of a video here, having a look at his huge collection of not just parts, but complete cars, project cars, restoration projects, barn find cars, like this one here. And yeah, it's just going to be a very interesting place to have a look around. So if you like your old Alvises, if you like your old British cars, hopefully this video will appeal. Something a bit different for the Old Classic Car channel. This is the kind of video that I would like to do from time to time. So if you know of anywhere similar to this, maybe one of the specialists that perhaps isn't quite as well known as some of the big players, give me a shout, drop me a line in the comments please, and maybe we could do a video like this of other places tucked away that you just wouldn't really know even existed. But yeah, this is just going to be a really interesting day. I can feel it. Ooh, I can see some Alvises over there, but before we make our way over there and to the sheds and the wonders that are found within those sheds, I just spotted over here an Alvis TA21, so there are some slightly earlier Alvises here. This one looking a little time worn, but what a fantastic old car that is. Bit of yard art now. I don't think this one's going to see the road again, but how cool is that? And this is just a hint of the many Alvis motor cars that I'll be looking at today. And let me know in the comments what you think of these wonderful old cars. They can't all be saved, but it's great to see some of these old survivors clinging on to life just about. But yeah, I love to see old cars, even if they're in this state, but just what stories could this old car tell? So this, I think, is an early post-war Alvis. Yeah, what a treat to see these lovely old cars. But I know there's some much sounder examples of the magnificent Alvis in some of these buildings over here. So let's go and have a quick shufty in there and see what we can find on this beautiful morning. Actually, it was really misty early on, but now it's much more pleasant. Right, less waffle, more Alvis.
Royston.
Looking for mice. But before we head over there, I'm going to make you wait a little bit longer, because here we have another magnificent old building. And what do we have lurking in the shadows here? Ooh, more Alvis goodness. So what we're looking at here, sir?
Well, there's a couple of chassis stacked up. The top one is a TA21. I can tell that because the engine mountings are on a slant, and it's got the early type bumper mountings. The one underneath, that's a TC chassis, because it's not. It's a TD chassis. It's got the later bumper mountings.
Has it got disc brakes on that one down below?
It has. It's got
disc
front
brakes. You can see discs down there.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see
that.
That's
a TD chassis.
And further back
We've got some more chassis, some odds and ends of bits and pieces. And the rolling shell on the left, that's a TA21.
And these are all available if anyone's needing any parts for
parts or
TAs or TDs.
Rolling chassis to make a project or whatever.
Yeah, maybe a special or something like that, possibly.
Possibly, or maybe to repair a car with a very rotten chassis.
Or add a bit of a ding, perhaps, or something like that. Yes. And
yes.
what do we have here? This rolling body shell here.
TA21.
Yeah. Oh, right, I see. Well, so what year would that be roughly?
Could be anything from 1950 to 1952.
Right. And again, is it ash frame still with the?
Oh yes, timber framing with steel body.
So I mean that goes back to the pre-war years, really, doesn't it? Coach-built bodywork, and
those were made by Molyneux.
Because Part Ward did the bodies on the later Alvises, didn't they? On the TDs. Yeah, I've seen one or two of the grabber-bodied cars, and they're beautiful looking cars. Yes, they are fantastic. Yeah, what a treat everywhere you look. Lovely old Alvises. Wow.
Well, there's more.
Yeah, let's go and have a look at more. So what are the cat's names then? What's his name, this little
That's
tabby?
Royston. The
Royston.
tabby, and there's Henry, the black and white cat.
Henry, he's the mouser, is he?
They're both mouses.
Are they?
Very good.
And wow, what a tantalising lineup
Yes,
of Alvi. Is it plural? Alvises? Alvi? I'm not sure.
We've got 2 TEs lined up there. They're due to go off to Belgium in the very near future.
So TE, that introduced the stacked headlamps, didn't it?
Headlights, yes.
Yeah, I've got you. And do we know what years? That's what, 63 or 4? Oh, it's a 65, isn't it? I can see a C plate, yes.
And the other one will be either a 64 or 65.
Right. So these are going as a job lot, are they? Right, right.
Hopefully they'll be restored.
Yeah. What do you think he'll do? Actually restore each of them, or make one out of the 2, do you think?
He'll probably make 2 or maybe 3 out of the 4 that he's bought.
Right, right.
One is definitely too far gone.
Yeah, so let's have a closer look at this 65 car here.
Yes.
So, I mean, that almost looks aluminium-y, but then again,
There's
there's
steel wings.
Steel wings.
The doors are aluminium, the bonnet, boot lid, and
Right.
the roof are aluminium, but
Right.
the rest is steel,
Right.
or more likely rust.
And this will have the aluminium doors on it then, being a
Yes,
later car, won't it? Yes, yeah. Let's have a look at this. A few weekends work here for the gentleman taking on this. Cobwebs are free.
Yes.
Wow. Wow. Hello. Indeed. Meow, indeed. Yes, you've got excellent taste looking after this magnificent TE21, and then another one here. Wow. The lots of them turn up sort of dismantled and people have given up on them, like stalled.
Yes, somebody's obviously started restoration but abandoned it, and it'll now be continued by somebody else.
Yeah, I guess once you start digging sometimes, because I guess the outer body
worse than they look. Now here's a classic example of one that looks quite good.
doesn't look too bad from here.
Rotten as a pear underneath the chassis. Patches on patches.
Yeah, well,
And to the left of it is a Series 1 TD, a very early car, and again too far gone to restore.
so is it all ash? Is the whole body ash framed beneath this outer steel
Not
work?
completely, no. You've got isolated lumps of ash which form the A posts.
Right.
The doors.
So we've got ash hiding behind here
That's right.
on the
yes.
on the hinge pillars.
The roof from here onwards is ash framed,
Yep.
and the back of the car is ash framed all around the waist rail.
Wow, so it's even into the roof, is it?
Oh yes,
Wow.
yes, and once that's gone seriously rotten, it's a
Wow.
very difficult job to do, and probably not worth doing. So
Is
once
this?
they get badly rotten, I think the answer is to convert them into a drop head.
And you were saying that you can sort of provide the kit
We've
of parts,
Pretty much everything on the shelf.
right? So you could actually convert. So you could actually take this.
It's a very easy
convert it.
conversion to do, because the roof is simply screwed into the top of the A posts.
Oh, right.
So you unscrew the roof, throw that away, screw in place of it the drop head screen surround. That's the front end done.
Oh, right.
No extra strength in the bulkhead or the chassis.
Right.
The doors are already frameless, so it's simply a case of changing the quarter light for the drop head version and the glass itself for the drop head version.
And the chassis doesn't need any bracing up,
Chassis
or
is identical
is
between the
it?
drop
Oh,
head and the
right.
saloon.
Is it?
The back end, there's a different waist rail that goes all the way round,
Yeah,
but
this is-
predominantly the panel work is the same.
Yeah, this one's looking a bit fragile, isn't it? In those
This
rear
one
corners.
is pretty rough, yes.
Yeah, that's. I guess all these cars to have survived this long have gone through a period of when these weren't worth anything and people just ran them
Exactly,
kind of
yes.
into the ground.
If we go around and have a look
Yeah,
at
let's go and have a look at this. A very dismantled TD over here. So this will give us a bit of a clue as to just how much woodwork there is within the frame of these cars.
Yes.
So if we are, oh wow,
You go in
That's-
through and
clamber over here. Hello. Yes, we've been closely monitored. Right, oof, good heavens. Right, so we've got all the timber in the B pillar here. Wow, so this gives you a real idea of the construction. And there's the wood around the top of the windows. And above the windscreen there, so These are all the places you want to be looking very, very closely if you're going to buy one of these late 50s, early 1960s Alvises. As you can see, take away the trim and there could be some interesting problems hiding away. So this is actually a really useful car to look at, just to really understand how they were put together. And there is the A-pillar, and this is where the doors hinge and mount on. And often when you open the doors, especially on the fixed head cars like this, if this is at all weak with a heavy door screwed through there, the door drops and you've got a world of pain fixing up this woodwork behind here, because presumably all this has to come off. Yes, wings have to come off.
Quite a difficult job. I have actually got A and B posts in stock.
Have you? Oh right, okay.
But they're not easy to fit. Everything has to be tailored to suit the car, of course.
Because
cars,
all hand built, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. Wow. So I wonder what the future holds for this particular car. Yeah, yard art. It is, yeah. It gives you a really good idea of how they come together and how they come apart.
Yes. To avoid.
Yes. Yeah. Well, if this car could talk. On the end of this row, we have another TA21 saloon. So again, would this one be about 50-ish?
Yes, 50.
Something like that. Right, yes. Right. Wow.
And obviously fairly rotten.
Yeah.
Reasonably sound. So
again.
Possibly this could end up as a special.
Yeah, yeah. It's a pretty beefy looking steering box, isn't it? Yes. Wow, that's a whopper.
Pretty grim inside.
Yes. Yeah. That's a lot of work in that, isn't it? That's not going to happen. And this gives you a good idea as to why so many, even pre-war saloons with similar bodies, end up being stripped down and made into tourers and specials, because the cost to fix this up, it'd cost what? It'd probably cost 3 times the cost of an open car to restore a saloon, and it'd be worth 1/3 as much at the end, wouldn't it? So you've got to really love. Yeah, you've got to really love a pre or immediately post-war saloon to really piece a bad one back together.
Now, here we've got a very rough TE21.
So this is a 66, 1966. I love this.
Tip for anyone looking at these cars with a view to buying one.
Oh, right.
You could just hold that.
Yep, some buying advice here. Okay.
The one place where you can access the timber framing
right.
without having to dismantle anything is to put your hand up underneath the rear window.
Oh, right, you can get to the beneath.
You can grab a handful of rotten wood.
Oh
like
dear,
that.
yes.
That's
useful.
Is rotten,
Yep.
and it's
Well, that's a good bit of knowledge. So if we go and have a quick peek under here, so that's where you can reach under,
yes,
feel beneath the back window, and that gives you a first-hand indication of what the structure's like, and clearly, you know, it's looking a little bit second-hand.
This one is a particularly bad example.
Yeah, this one's been sat a long time, hasn't it? It's not looking pretty.
Yeah.
But, you know...
while we're here, we've got a chassis we can look at.
Oh, right.
Again, illustrates what not to buy.
There's a front end of one here. That'll look nice on the wall. Pirelli tyres. Now we're going to go and have a look at another bare chassis, because it'll be quite useful if anyone's thinking of buying an Alvis of the sort of late 40s, 1950s and even into the 1960s. This might be quite useful. Now, tucked away in the corner next to this lovely old wall is the chassis of a TA21. Now, this chassis was kind of used with a few little tweaks here and there right the way through the post-war Alvis production. So we're going to get a few pointers as to what to look for on the chassis of these fine motor cars if you're thinking of buying one. So, we've got the standard front end on this one.
Yes, twin wishbones, coil springs.
Coil springs.
And that design carried right through to the very end.
Gotcha. Now, in my naivety, I always think if a car of the 40s and 50s has got a big separate box chassis, you can kind of ignore that when you're going to buy a car and just look at the body itself. But I'm told that is not the case with these.
As we'll see.
Yes. So, where shall we go? Where shall we start? Go around the back. Yes.
When I look at a chassis, normally in the first place I look is where it starts to rise to clear the back axle.
Yeah.
That's where they normally rest.
Oh, there's a bit of a...
And you can see
oh, yes, it's starting. Yeah, it's just starting to look a little bit ventilated down there. And we've got a bit of a Dexian repair here.
Yes, a period repair here.
Yes.
Back end of the chassis, spring hanger, that's all prone to rot, but relatively easy to get to repair.
Right, okay.
But here's a thing that I like to look at. Just come round.
All right, yeah, let's get round here then.
Top section is spot welded onto the bottom plate.
Oh, I see, right, yeah.
The spot welds, the rust can get in and blow the two apart.
Ah, I can see, yeah, it's coming up there, it's starting to separate, isn't it? Yeah.
And that can run down the entire chassis length, so if you look at the main chassis and you see that quilting effect all the way down the chassis, it's probably one to avoid.
Oh, it's as bad. And this applies to the TDs, the TEs,
yes,
TF.
any box section,
right.
Chassis made this way,
yeah,
would apply.
Good grief, yeah. So that's certainly useful knowledge to have. So and this is fairly typical, these sort of repairs at the back end on a car that was probably in the 70s, wasn't it? Sort of just to keep it on the road. You know, this side isn't as bad, but this side's clearly seen a bit of action. Maybe this side gets all the mud from the verges as you drive along, perhaps. But yeah, there's a great example of 1960s MOT repair work there. But yeah, that's very interesting. So have a good look if you're looking at buying an elderly Alvis. Just have a good look on the chassis as well as the body, because there can be problems lurking, and wouldn't be a straightforward fix either. It'd be a body off, wouldn't it, at the very least?
Even if the job properly, any large amounts of welding will potentially distort the chassis.
Yeah. So yeah, you don't want a poor one, do you? Yeah. That's really interesting to see that. I never would have imagined all these old Alvises would be here in sunny Shropshire. What a treat it is to have a look around them all and just admire. Even though the condition isn't great, they are just wonderful old cars. And I do like these TD21s. I just think the shape of them is spectacular. If this was a 1960s video, I'd be describing this as a gentleman's GT. Maybe you've owned one of these Alvises, one of these models, a TD or maybe a TE. Let me know in the comments what your experiences were of owning one of these fine motor cars, perhaps back in the 1960s or the 1970s when they weren't worth a huge amount of money. Or even now, to buy a decent one isn't too expensive if you compare it to a contemporary Jaguar or perhaps a Bristol, that kind of car. These are still relatively undervalued, I think, for what they are, but whether that will remain the case for long is anyone's guess. But I just think they're stunning looking cars. Beautiful lines, beautiful two-door, and like I say, I do prefer the fixed head cars to the drop heads. That's just a personal thing. And look at these two here, off to a new life in Belgium before long. So I wonder what the future holds for these. Well, now we're going to go into the buildings and just have a look at some of the Alvises that are undercover. Oh, nice grille there. Because there are many, many more examples tucked away. Right, we're in building number 1 now, and wow, look at this assortment of Alvises and many, many Alvis parts. Good grief. Hello, madam. Right. So what have we got along here then? So the first heading up the row.
Here is one drop head, a genuine drop head.
A drop head. Wow.
Somewhat used as a storage shelf, I'm afraid.
Yeah. So it's handy. And this is the front end of a drop head.
That's a drop head front end that's going to be reunited with the back end and the chassis and put together over the next few months.
Wow, fantastic. And then this one here, TE.
It's a TE drop head.
Right.
Somewhat covered in junk.
Yeah, but a rare survivor now, isn't it? It's a rare survivor, that is. And all these cars are available if anyone fancies a little challenge, a little project.
Well, I'm not too keen on selling that one.
No.
Anything would sell
but most, yeah, they can always drop your line. And this engine here then, so this is the...
That's an engine that's just been rebuilt.
That's interesting.
Drop head there.
Oh right, so that's going to go into this one over there. Yeah, that's quite... So this is your regular 3 litre straight 6. So does this engine, does it go back to the pre-war days? Is it, or was it an evolution, or was it a new?
That was a new design, 1950.
Was it? Right.
The TA21 pioneered it, and they've improved it over the years.
Right. So we've got twin SUs. Is that the standard setup? Is it?
That was, yes. And then finally for the TF, they went for triple SUs.
Oh, I see. Got you. Got you. So are they pretty reliable engines as they go? Are there any real weaknesses on these to look out for?
They tend to overheat.
Do they?
That's often just sludging the block or
Right.
lack of cleaning.
Got you. Got
Head
you.
gaskets can be a bit of a weak point,
Oh yeah.
but predominantly they're not a bad engine.
No, and you can get the parts for them if you need to rebuild one.
Just about everything available, either I supply it or Red Triangle have got it. So yes, they're not a problem to work on.
Well, you won't have any problem rebuilding anything here, will you? I mean, look, this is many years of collecting and sourcing and hunting down these things. We've got another TD21 here.
One TD, that's quite a restorable project.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Well, I guess you have to clamber underneath all these to look at the chassis just to make sure they're there or thereabouts, you know.
Just checking the key places is a pretty good idea.
Yeah, yeah. And the door's slightly open, so again, that's the acid test really to give you an idea, isn't it? If the door, you know, if the door. Yeah, yeah, that one closes all right, doesn't it? Like I think I probably said last year, I was looking at one or two adverts for these, but when you looked at the lines of the door didn't shut right at all. It was a mile out, you know.
Definitely a warning sign.
Lovely interior, look at that. Just imagine going down the new M1 or the M6 motorway when they opened in the early 1960s. Nice radio. I like the radio in that one. Yeah, proper cars. And many parts. If you're stuck for a cylinder head perhaps, or indeed any oily part, you know where to come. Right, let's carry on along the row. Yeah, what a treat to see all these beautiful cars here today. Next to this TD, we've got this drop head, which, as we said before, that rebuilt engine over yonder will be going in here. So will you be putting that in, or are you just selling it as a kit?
No,
kit
I'll
of parts?
be organising that.
Right.
And probably build it up to a complete car.
So do you have like a network of people around here who can help out with some of this kind of thing?
Yes.
Right.
Oscar Street Classic Car Company will be around in doing this.
Oh, right. So how far will you take this then?
Probably to completion,
Right.
or at least once it's running, then maybe somebody will want to buy it and
sort of finish it off maybe. Yeah, because I'm assuming these are much rarer than the fixed head cars like this one here.
About a third of production were drop heads.
Were they? Right.
So 2/3 were saloons.
Well, it says something for the strength of the structure that you could convert the fixed head car to a drop head without having to beef the chassis up.
Yes, although scuttle shake is a bit of an issue with the drop heads.
Right. Yeah, because it's fairly. I mean, this is all fairly slender, isn't it? So
There's very little strength in the screen surround.
No. But yeah, what an incredible car that'll make. Well, you got the folding roof mechanism there. You can see all the metalwork there for that. But yeah, that's fantastic. And all these bits. I'm sure you know where everything is.
Almost.
Who doesn't like a nice set of metal racking full of bits? Who doesn't like that kind of thing? But yeah, what a treat. And over here, another Alvis, another drop head Alvis. Needs a little bit of TLC, this one, but again, it's got the makings. All the bare bones are there, and all the parts are available for them. There's another fixed head car there. So yeah, this would keep you quiet of an evening. What a fantastic assortment of cars. Many of these, this one looks like it's had a bit of work done in the past. Maybe someone ran out of steam or money. Perhaps there's various primary bits. It looks like it's had some rear arches on this particular example as well. And then someone's run out of time, money, energy, or maybe all of the above, and it's ended up like this. Hopefully someone will take this on and retrieve it. Again, it all depends on the condition of the woodwork and the chassis underneath. Here are just some of the many new parts that Chris is able to provide for the keen Alvis owner. So what would you say are the most popular lines? What things do people tend to need?
Suspension and brakes, probably.
Right.
Obviously engine parts, distributor parts, like points, plugs, condenser,
Oh, right,
distributor
right,
caps, gaskets, we've got everything.
And you can help.
in that
You can
department.
source all those. You can get all those for
Yes,
people and provide those, can you? Wow. I guess, especially with brake parts, they only have to sit for like 18 months, don't you? And then you start getting sticky wheel cylinders and all that kind of thing. So yeah, this is a veritable gold mine. Certainly if I ever end up buying an Alvis at some point, I know where to come for my bits and bobs, especially as it's fairly local to me. But I guess you probably post this stuff all over,
All
I
over the
guess.
world,
Yeah. So once you get known for something, then word gets around, doesn't it? Many springs. So do you have these made up new, or are these
yes, those are done by a firm who
right.
supply Alvis, as far as I know.
Oh, did they?
Specifications on record.
Wow, that's incredible. Amazing, you can still buy all this stuff. Right, let's go and find the next shed. I'm sure Henry the cat will follow us over there. Are you coming? Psst. No, maybe not. Another barn, and another collection of classic Alvises. Now, it is quite dark in here, so I hope this is going to come out all right. I won't move very quickly, then it'll give the camera a chance to keep up. But wow, so what are we looking at here? These sort of parts donors, presumably now, aren't
Well,
they?
these are rolling chassis that could provide the basis for making a car, or even a special.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
again,
true.
repairing an existing car.
Yes.
Behind them, you should be able to make out a pile of chassis frames in good condition.
Wow.
So if the chassis is totally rotten, the answer is to get a frame and swap it all over.
Yeah, all it takes is a little biff in the back, isn't it, and a queue of traffic, and then it can cause problems, can't it? But even if you only used a section of a chassis,
Yes,
if it's straight, the important thing is it's straight, isn't it?
In sections that I've kept from cars.
Have you? Oh, right, you've even got part chassis and things like that, so that can certainly get you out of trouble, because to have a new chassis section made would be, that's quite an assortment. My goody aunt. So these are very similar to that one that we were looking at outside, and aren't they? That one where it had the Dexian at the back. Yeah,
Yes.
all very similar. Wow. Yeah, I'd be dangerous if I had this much space. I'd be like this. And several more cars here. Another TD here. Hopefully this is coming out. It is a bit dark, for which I apologise, but you'll get the gist. And what are these two earlier ones here then?
TA21s.
TA21s.
The ones that we've seen outside, so those
Doable.
hopefully go again.
Yeah. I guess if you've got all the bits, then that's the thing, isn't it? It's when people take cars apart and lose things, and all gets a bit problematic, isn't it? Can you still get all the manuals and parts lists and things for these to sort
Yes.
of right? So they come in very handy if you're needing to piece something together. Got a spare dashboard on here. Yeah, what a treasure trove of Alvis cars and parts. Wow. Getting quite dark back here. Many wings. Anyone need a wing? And just another one here. Another fixed head. Lovely jubbly. Look at all these bonnets. So these are aluminium then?
Yes.
Right. That's a lot of car bonnets. That must be a sizable chunk of all the bonnets ever made, I would have thought.
Yes. Well, usually when you buy a car for braking, there's always a spare bonnet as well as the one on the car itself.
And the water runs off it, of course, doesn't it? So that's incredible. What a treasure trove of bits. The prop shafts, bumpers. Wow. A bulkhead off something.
It's a TA Tickford drophead bulkhead.
Is it a Tickford body? Oh, right. That must be a fair bit more unusual. Wow. It's just a cathedral to Alvis parts. Look at all these doors. Wowzers. I never would have believed that a car that had a fairly limited production run as this would still be so well supported all these years later, 50, 60 years later. But unfortunately it's people like Chris that sees the usefulness in this kind of stuff, and that's why he's spent the last several decades accumulating this stuff and providing it for other owners out there who need this kind of thing to keep their cars going, because without places like this, these cars won't be on the road anymore. I think we'll head out into the daylight because we can't see a great deal in here, but hopefully this video and this part of the video will just give you a bit of a clue as to this amazing assortment of post-war Alvises. Another stunning collection of fantastic Alvises. More barn find Alvis content in here, so it's fairly tightly packed in, so we'll have a quick look around and just see what we can do. I hope this is coming out okay. But mainly TD21s, I think, looking around here. But let's have a closer look inside here. How amazing is this place? Everywhere you look, barn find Alvises. Does this door open? I won't force the door because it's probably a bit tight on the hinges. Clearly, there's a bit of work to do on the coachwork here. Many of these cars are for sale either as projects. One or two might be spares donors, but I think most of these, the future will be as restoration projects. Look at this beauty here. This is the sort of the Series 2 version of the TD21. The facelifted cars have these Lucas lamps just there. Hopefully you can see this okay. It is fairly gloomy in here, but we'll do our best. Check out the Chris Prince Ltd website. I'll include a link in the description. But today we are just taking in the magnitude of this collection of wonderful old Alvises. If I could own one of these cars one day, I would be a very happy bunny. And look at all these. Some of these are more project car than others. Some of them are partially dismantled like this one, whereas this, I like the look of this one actually. This early series car, again with the grills just next to the headlights there, that would be this kind of era that I'd be interested in. The early cars had very heavy doors. The facelifted cars, if you like, the later TD21s had aluminium skin doors, because they found on the earlier cars the weight of the doors on the door pillars was a real issue. Look at this here. God, grief. The amazing thing is you could drive past here and not have any clue at all. There are all these amazing old Alvises stacked in here. Wow, look at them all going back right over there. Let me know in the comments if you're a fan of Alvises. Let's have a quick look around here. They're just incredible cars. Really handsome machines, I think. Let's just go around here. It's quite a nice day now. It was misty when I set off this morning. That is a very nice car. That is another one that I would like. The early TD21. I just think these early cars with the single headlamps either side, just look the bee's knees, and that would look great at home, that one. But as I've said before, we've got ash framing behind these outer panels, so even if the panels look something like the framing behind them, it can be a very different story. So you have to check the structure of these cars very, very closely indeed. How the door opens, does it drop at all, does it click shut okay? That'll tell you a lot about the condition and the structure of any TD that you go and have a look at, and that still applies for the TE and the later TF21s as well, although they had alloy skin doors, so the structure was slightly less of an issue around the door pillar area. But wow, what an incredible collection of cars. This one has been pretty well stripped out. The parts may be around for it somewhere. I'm sure Chris will know where the bits are for this one if they are still around. Another very complete looking example over there. Who doesn't love a good barn find? Are these a barn find? Technically, maybe not, because the owner and probably many, many Alvis people know of this incredible assortment of cars, but to those of us who aren't too steeped in Alvis folklore, may not have heard of this place before. What an incredible place. I'm so grateful to Chris for taking time out to let me come and have a look around and admire this astonishing assortment of post-war Alvises. I don't think he gets too involved with the pre-war Alvis world, the vintage Alvis. But certainly in terms of the post-war cars, he is one of the main players, and what an incredible treat it's been to have a look around this incredible shed, and indeed the other sheds that we saw before. What a fantastic place to spend a bit of time. Hopefully the future for most of these cars is positive. I imagine all these cars which look fairly complete, like this one here and the green one that I was ogling before, hopefully the future's good for those. They're all together. That really helps if you're taking on a project car. You really want the car to be all together and not in 1,000 pieces. But I guess if you buy several cars, if you buy a complete one, then taking on also buying maybe an incomplete car, it becomes slightly more viable, because at least you've got a complete car to refer to. So yeah, maybe if you're going to buy one or two of these, make sure you buy at least one that's complete, so you know where everything goes. But yeah, what a great, wouldn't it be fantastic? I would love to drag that outside, clean all the muck off, get the jet wash out, carefully clean it all down, and just see how it comes up, because I'm sure that would look magnificent. I think I might have another quick look at that one actually. Yes, this is probably the one that I would be taking home. This, or the silvery grey car just over there. Isn't that just wonderful? I know Harley really wanted to come with me on this particular trip, but sadly he had to go to school today, which he wasn't too impressed about. But maybe the opportunity will come to pop down here again at some point, down into sunny Shropshire. But yeah, that would clean up. Wouldn't that be a treat to sort of get a rag and a sponge on that? Clearly it hasn't moved in many a year. We've got some parking tickets in the window here. What have we got? East Devon District Council. Have we got a time? No, it's too faded to see a date, I think. No, I can't quite make out the date on those. Wouldn't it be wonderful just to drag that out? It'll take some getting out though. So I think we've probably had a pretty good look around this building here. What a fantastic collection of Alvis's TD21s, and there are also several of the later TE21s and TF21s around as well. The TD21s, they first came out in 1958. Yeah, what a fascinating place. Well, what a fantastic morning I've had down here in deepest, darkest Shropshire. What a great day out. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more videos like this, visiting the sort of one make, one mark specialists such as this. Because I'll tell you, this has been a very enjoyable video for me to record. I mean, I love these old Alvises anyway, as you can tell. And just to see how well they're still supported, and the enthusiasm for these cars all these years later, is just a real treat. As Chris was saying, several of these cars are going to be heading off to Belgium soon, hopefully for a new life. So that's good. So there's obviously an international audience for these wonderful old cars. And it's great that hopefully most of these will go on to a new life. Anyway, I think that's probably enough of me rambling and taking up Chris's time. I really appreciate it. So thanks so much to Chris for his time showing me around his wonderful collection of cars and parts. I'll include a link to Chris Prince's website in the description, so if you've got an interest in Alvis or you need any Alvis parts, give him a shout, because he's going to be only too willing to help you out, I'm sure. But yeah, it's an incredible stash of cars and parts here, and yeah, what a treat. So thank you very much for watching. Please take a look around the rest of the channel, and like I say, if you'd like me to do some more videos visiting some of these specialists like this, especially some of perhaps the less well-known specialists, let me know in the comments. And if you can recommend anyone else, If you can recommend anyone else like this, perhaps for another car, maybe MGs or Triumph specialists that have got a setup like this, please drop me a note in the comments or send me an email via the Old Classic Car website perhaps. And if it's viable and not too far away, then I could visit there and do the same sort of thing. So yeah, anyway, thanks a lot. Bye for now. Hello. Just look at this wonderful old saw bench. I just spotted this on the way out. So what is it, a Rob Roy?
Rob Roy.
Rob Roy.
Yes.
So
they were made in Scotland or somewhere.
Were they?
Wow.
Wow.
They're rather fun.
Yeah.
That does work for its living as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. No, but like anything old, oily and heavy, is yeah, I definitely approve of that. And clearly, it's got its work cut out with all this wood here. Good grief. And the little Bonza truck as well.
Yeah, so great fun.
I've seen one or two of these dotted around. These are great, aren't they? Just thought I'd pull over for a quick sandwich, and what better place to pull over for a quick sandwich than this former Land Rover specialist. What a beautiful old garage building that is. I wonder what the plans are for this. Let's go and have a quick bite to eat, and then we'll head off back home.